Welcome to It Takes Two. I'm Blair.
I'm Chris.
And today we will be discussing the interview that Nicole did with Bio Files. I think that's the name of the podcast.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, the thing that's so interesting about this podcast dropped after the statement that she posted. She said on August 18th, Kendall and I agreed our relationship was worth working on, and we were making plans for me to visit him in Dallas soon. However, today on August 20th, he called and ended things. While I understand and respect his decision, it's hard to process this one. I opened up to him in the villa and still love and care for him now. I'm struggling mentally, and all I ask for is privacy during this time. That is from Nicole on August 20th. So I'm kind of happy that this interview came out so we could get more actually like in depth to what she's talking about. Mm-hmm. Blair, walk us through this thing just a little bit.
So she's telling us about first she told us about some of her like past like history and dating. She had been through some assault in different relationships, and she had been through being lied on, cheated on. So she had, the run of the gambit as far as her dating history. She was talking about how it happened that she found out about the video, and they were still filming in Fiji when the show was over. She hadn't received her phone yet, but Kendall received his phone. And there were things that Serena heard, and she told him that he should be honest. So he told her that his news got released, and he sent her a screenshot. So at first she didn't realize there was like a whole video. So he told her that it was from someone from the past, somebody that he trusted. And everybody kept checking on her. Casting was checking on her. Friends from back home and the cast were all checking on her as well. And at the time, she was saying she was fine. She just felt bad for Kendall that he was violated in this way. So Janae ended up showing her the full video. And after seeing that, she could tell that, oh, this is the hotel rooms that we were in prior to coming into the villa in Fiji. And she was upset because he lied. So when she went back to talk to him, he admitted he lied, and he thought that she would leave him if he told the truth. He told her that he sent the video to a girl on Raya because he was bored in his hotel room before going into the villa.
Now let's start right here. I want to talk a little bit about Nicole's dating history, just slightly, because she talked about the longest relationship she was in was with this guy that she was with from her teenage years all through college and things like that. And I would say that I'm sorry that happened to you, but there's definitely some wounds and some scars that she definitely brought with her on Love Island, her perception. And I would say that instead of filling out an application for Love Island, I think she should have went to therapy to actually get some of that dealt with. Because the worst thing to do, in my opinion, is to enter any type of relationship with the whole prove me wrong mentality.
Right.
Because you coming in with the idea of what you believe guys to be. You coming in with this idea. I think she was talking about things about like, I wasted my time with this and things of that nature. And now she's basically bringing on that trauma with that prove me wrong mentality. So in a way, Kendall was kind of put in a position to basically wear the burden of basically proving guys to be good. Okay. In a way that I think was kind of like, okay, we already starting unfair with basically past trauma. Now you're with a new guy on a volatile situation as Love Island, meaning like you come in, there's bombshells, you dating multiple people. So I already was like looking at Nicole like, oh, you actually had some past traumas that you needed to get through.
Okay. I kind of wanted, I don't know. So when we did the reunion, we didn't really know if Nicole had spoken to Kendall about the fact that he lied and if he ended up admitting it to her. So now we have more clarification that he did. And after kind of hearing that, first that she was on his side, but then she was so hurt that he lied. I mean, I still kind of stick to my opinion of the fact that, yes, Kendall was violated in this situation, but he made a decision to get on a dating app before going into the villa and sending a random person a picture, which there is a risk that if you do that somebody could take advantage of that. Not to say that it doesn't matter or it's not a big deal. It is very much still a big deal. But his decisions ended up having consequences for himself and for his person that he ended up with in the villa. Okay. So for her to be upset about the lie, which, we're going to talk about a little bit more, she kind of says that she doesn't know if she believes what he has told her because he lied about it in the beginning. So she doesn't know if she's getting the full truth. So kind of, if we're factoring all that in, it sounds like to me she need to leave him. I mean, there's no trust there. So what are we really working with? I mean, she wasn't feeling like talking to him. She didn't want to go visit him. So they were still together, but she wasn't communicating with him. So it's just kind of like, why do you still want to be connected to this person?
And that's the thing that I'm actually trying to understand, because even through all of this, she's like, I wanted to be with him. Actually, we're still together, even when she was doing this podcast and things like that. So I was very confused by that, but let's keep going.
So there were some other things that he lied about. So apparently online, I did see it when it happened. So Kendall and Kenny were out to the club. Yeah. And apparently they were in a section, and Kendall, or the perception was that he kicked some black girls out of his section because he didn't want the black girls in the section. So that's what the girls came online saying. So he was telling Nicole that he had to, make it right by the girls. So he invited them to this day party. He drank with them. He took videos with them, put it on his Instagram to basically make it seem like we're good, we're cool, like that's not like an issue or anything. And he said that Kenny had helped him, I think, pull it together, as well as Janae. So she called Janae, and Janae was like, I told him to apologize, but I didn't tell him what he needed to do or how to go about doing it. So she was upset about that as well, because he lied about that too. Yeah. And so she pretty much come to an idea that he's pretty much like a people pleaser. Yeah. And that he's trying to make everybody happy instead of actually like doing right by her. And that's something that I see as well. Like but how do I say it?
Help me.
I think he's just trying to tell everybody what he thinks they want to hear. Yeah. Whether that's the truth or whether it's a lie. And then when he's called out on a lie, in one case he admitted it, and in another case with these girls, he's kind of sticking to what he said is what happened. So in that type of situation, I'm back to the same point of leave him. Because whether or not he has good intentions with the lies he tells, they are still lies that he tells. But I do think there are some people, some of us may have had a girlfriend or a sibling or a cousin or somebody to where they just can't seem to get over this person that has done them wrong, this person that they don't necessarily trust or they don't necessarily want to be with, but they don't have the capacity to break it off. I mean, even during the interview, she was talking about, well, I don't think it's fair that I have to be the one to break it off when he's the one who did something wrong. And the interviewer guy was trying to tell her, like, well, you're part of the relationship too. You get to make your own decisions as far as who you want to be partnered with. That's not something that somebody has to do in a situation. Like, you decide for yourself what you want. And she does just sound very young in the fact of she doesn't want to be the one to pull the trigger, and she also doesn't want to be the one to answer the call. So it's just all just sounds very like childish. Yeah, to me,
and to add to the people pleaser thing, she says she's also a people pleaser too. So, but I do agree that Kendall was definitely reeling and definitely like telling lies that didn't have to be said. But I will always go back to, okay, whenever an interview like this come out, I always say, what is the objective of this interview? The objective of this interview is not, even though she's mentioning the club, even though she's mentioning her past, even though she's mentioning all these other things, that's not the point of why she came on this interview. There's a full objective that I think she's trying to allude to, and I was very confused by it, because I'm like, why are you alluding this but still with the guy? Why are you trying to basically let us fill in the blank, but you still with the guy? It's kind of like being with the guy, but like you're doing an interview trashing the guy. I understood if this interview came out like days after they broke up and things like that, but this interview was already filmed and things like that, and I'm just like, what's going on? Like, what are you trying to basically like achieve with this interview? What do you think Nicole was trying to achieve with this interview?
I honestly felt like Nicole had been so quiet when it came to social media, when it came to podcasts. Everybody's out doing their thing. And I think she felt that she needed to come out and start showing her face and start sharing her side of things. And honestly, I mean, I guess if she wanted to, but I wasn't really missing it, to be honest.
Nobody was, really.
But I think maybe she felt the weight of, I think I need to tell my side of the story. So that's where I think it came from. And maybe she's trying to get people to, I wouldn't say pity her, but at least like not be upset with her if she ended up wanting to break up with him, because she also did talk about how the dynamics would change if she broke up with him when it came to like their friend group in the villa and all this type of stuff. But just like the interviewer guy said, like, well, none of that actually really matters. Like, like that really doesn't matter how people are going to respond to you breaking up with him. But I think that's another factor that was keeping her tied to him.
Yeah.
So,
let's get more background in this interview before like I start asking some other questions.
So she said that she did love him and she didn't want those words to go to waste.
Yeah.
Apparently, I guess she had only said said I love you to like 2 guys in her life. So it was a really big deal that she said it. And she didn't want to be the person to have to break up with him. And like the interviewer said, like, you don't get a cookie for saying I love you to 2 people. Like, you can love many people in your life. You can love a few people in your life. It really isn't a big deal. You don't have to stay connected to this person or feel like you owe them because you told them you love them.
Yeah.
You can definitely tell them, look, the trust is gone in the relationship sense, but I would love to be your friend and support you, and I'm not going to judge you for what you've been through. And, you know, I'm going to be here to make sure that you're included and not feeling isolated in whatever you're going through.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, this is kind of where she was at in the moment of just not quite knowing if she wanted to end things, be with him. She definitely didn't trust him. But she just sounds like a very confused person, or even if she's not confused, just not wanting to be the one to have to end things.
Yeah.
So,
I would say, me personally, I didn't like the tone of this whole interview, really. Because I was asking the question to myself while listening, like, is the juice worth the squeeze? Like, is it worth? Because she really went on there and said a lot of nothing, but left things up to be interpreted whatever you believe. So there was a lot of times, and I'm just gonna be honest, there was a lot of times, even with the host and her, was, in my opinion, alleging that Kendall is not all the way heterosexual. Alluding to, right? Alluding that he's not all the way heterosexual. Basically, leaving that up in the air for our interpretation. And I can get that if she decided not to be with him. Like, everything leads me back to that point.
But the thing is, what she kept saying is, I want to believe what he's saying. So she's sitting here trying to convince herself that his story is true, while at the same time not necessarily believing the story is true. And then not wanting to confront him about it because she feels like he's just going to say, well, that's what happened. I mean, no, that's what she said. That's what he said. He said, like, whenever I asked about it, he just said, this is what it is. And even though, like, that's a story that, like, of course, based on the facts of the video, you're like, you gotta give me something more than that. You get what I'm saying? But I would say to Nicole that I think she went about this all the way wrong, and maybe a little bit of Love Island celebrity got to her head. I don't know who she was talking to. I don't know who her circle was, but truth be told, nobody would have held it against you if you left Kendall in that situation. And even when she was talking in the interview, she was saying, I probably would get a lot of people's support if I would just leave him.
But now after the reunion came out, you got no support. You get what I'm saying? Because you didn't show any type of sympathy, empathy. But in that moment, when it first came out, I think we all would have been like, hey, Nicole, this is your out right here. So I think there was a lot of people giving her wrong advice and things like that, even to the point where she keeps saying things like she's a victim in this too. And I'm just like, what? A victim of what? What are you and like, it's not just the lies in the sense of, oh, I kicked the black girls out, or basically the little lies, like it basically was before the hotel room. It's like, what, like,
but that's part of his character that I think you can't ignore.
It's the big lie that they are alluding to. And that's what I feel like they was doing the whole interview, of basically not saying like, oh no, oh yeah, he lied about the club like most guys do. Oh yeah, he lied about the picture.
But they were saying things like he can really be himself with you, or like, you know, try to get him to tell you what really happened, and maybe it didn't seem like he was a guy who was comfortable in who he was. Like those are the things that was being said. So yeah.
So I'm like, I wonder now that they are officially broken up, what was his mindset, because he ended it, and now she came out with the whole, like, you know, she's not mentally doing well and that she want us to respect her privacy, and some people was even reading that as like, you're still making it about you. And I think when it comes to these type of interviews, and I know this gonna sound kind of crazy, but if you're not gonna say everything, it's best for you to say nothing.
Yeah.
Because her, and like, I don't want to say her smiling was sinister, but like her just like kind of like bashing in a way, I don't trust him and all these things, and saying like, I still want to be with him. I wonder now, like, do you want to be with him because of the benefits that comes with Love Island and things like that? I know there were certain things that she said that she like protected their privacy when they wanted to film like them when they first was confronted with the whole thing, and she said she didn't want that to be on camera because they wanted to talk privately about it. But there's other things about it that I'm like, hey, Nicole, is the juice worth the squeeze, especially if you're not going to say everything? But by you not saying everything and just leaving it up to our interpretation, I think you're doing yourself more damage and actually giving Kendall more sympathy.
But I'm trying to say, like, what more could she have said? She only has what Kendall told her to go off of. I mean, she could go into what she believes happened, but then at the same time, do you want to put it out there of what your opinions are to possibly be held accountable for something you said online?
Break up with him.
You know? I mean, I agree with that, but I'm saying in doing the interview, I think she wanted to get her point across that she was conflicted and that she didn't trust him. But like you said, it doesn't help the fact that you're still with him to come out and say all these things. So
it's basically like an old saying, you're wide mouth, because you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. It's one thing if this was like a breakup interview where basically like, listen, this is why I broke up with Kendall, because I couldn't trust him and things like that.
But my thing is, we've all talked to a person in the headspace that Nicole is in before. You know what I'm saying? So it's not, I'm not sure what they want to do or what decision they want to make.
Not like this.
Or, you know what I mean? I mean, there's people that be with people who, you know, have done some crazy things to them, but they're saying, I'm choosing to stay because I love them, even though I hate the way they treat me. You know, like, people can be conflicted. So I don't fault her for being conflicted coming on the interview. But
I don't know about that.
But I'm just kind of like, this is where she was at when she did it, and she felt like she needed to start talking. She had been quiet for so long.
Yeah.
So
and truth be told, I think the quietness. The only thing that people were saying about the quietness was, are they still together? But I don't particularly remember anybody bad talking her. I actually remember when it first came out, people was bad talking Kendall, basically saying like, basically live your truth. You get what I'm saying? So I don't know if it's like a self-absorbed thing to where, even though, because she said this thing affected both our lives, and I wonder if it had to be that way. I don't think it had to be that way with Nicole.
I think it ended that way because of how Kendall handled it.
Meaning not saying anything to her?
Meaning lying to her, and then her having to come back to him for him to admitting to lying about it. And on top of that, him lying about having girls come hang out with him because Janae helped him do it, for Janae to turn around and say that I never told him to do that.
Yeah,
so I'm saying all of these things are adding up to what it looks to be his character. I mean, even if you look in the Love Island, the way he was with the girls versus how he was with the guys at Casa, and basically like, oh, I'm with y'all, like, I'm gonna make sure they treat y'all good, and he over there rooting for the guys to get to cheating and doing it whatever they need to do over in Casa, and then wanting to be surprised when people actually hold him accountable to the fact that you know, that's not cool how you're basically being two-faced. So
yeah. Do you think this interview helped Nicole at all, Blair?
No.
Like in any way?
I mean, I guess if her intention is what I think it was just to get her voice out there, then yes. But I don't know how it would have helped her in any other way. So
voice out there, like what do you mean voice out there?
Because she's been saying how she's been quiet and she's been wanting, and now she wants to talk. So now she got to talk.
So basically just talk.
She said that's what she wanted to do.
Nah.
Helping her as far as the public eye, like, I don't think so. I mean, I think people are going to have their own opinions whether or not they see her side. But she said that she's been quiet this whole time and it's her time to speak. So she spoke.
I think it's going to be perceived as two things, even though it can be two things at one time. Number one, is going to be perceived as you came on this podcast or you came out and you're talking about someone else's trauma. You being lied to, I understand. You did not include yourself to the public eye in that trauma. The way we view it is you was quiet the whole time, and the one time that you decided to talk publicly or like at least do something, you gave like a cryptic post on Instagram before the reunion. And then she said that's when Kendall tried to call, and then that's when she said that he basically was doing it for show, but she told him that she wanted to not talk to him and things like that. Like, no, I'm not going to fly. I ain't going to fly out to Dallas. I'm not going to do all these things while still wanting him to still reach out to her continuously. So I'm like, right there, you already got miscommunication right there. But this go come out as you talking about someone else's trauma, and you alluding to like the big lie, and not the lie of the club, and not the lie of the picture, not the lie of the whole Janae Serena thing. It's the big lie of what are you basically? Are you heterosexual? Are you bi? Are you homosexual and things like that? Because that's basically what she was, in my opinion, alluding to throughout the whole interview. And even the host was kind of like giving like way of that. And I'm just like, whoo, this is not going to land right. I don't know what you're trying to do here, but you can't make yourself seem like a victim while still being with the guy.
Yeah. Like,
leave the guy and things like that. So I don't really know what's up for her. All I know is turn those comments off on your Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever you on. Nicole, turn it off because it's not going to look good for you. I know they put on that PSA for cyberbullying. People not going to listen. You know what I'm saying? So, so anything else you want to add to your thoughts on the whole Nicole and Kendall breaking up with her, and basically she coming out, she want to talk?
I'm glad they broke up. I think that with their situation, the fact that there didn't seem to be a way for them to move forward, then it's probably best to just go ahead and end things. And it's good that Kendall did it because it seemed like Nicole was having a really hard time doing it, even though she wouldn't even talk to the man. And I can understand, like, she's like, I didn't want to talk to him because times we did talk, I was upset, I was angry and all these types of things. But I think maybe that's just where maturity comes in, where you just kind of like, if I can't stand to talk to this person, I probably don't need to be with them, because I don't need to get myself this worked up. You know what I'm saying? And like the guy was saying, like, it's like having a bad stomach ache, and you know it would feel better if you went ahead and you know, got it out, but you're deciding just to sit in misery. And so yeah, I don't know. I hope that she can learn to stop doing that, because that is a waste of time. Being in a relationship and having ups and downs and learning and, you know, things not working out, I don't think that's a failure or, you know, something to feel bad about. But for you knowing something's not good for you and you choosing just to be there just so you don't have to be the one to make a decision, like that really is wasting your time. So
my last statement would be, Nicole, stop talking about Kendall's trauma. Just you're out the relationship now. You made your statement about you're not mentally well and you're going through things. Hopefully you find the help that you need, but please don't talk about Kendall trauma no more, because every time you open your mouth about it sounds worse and worse and worse coming from your part.
Right.
Every time. Especially alluding to the big lie. You get what I'm saying? Anything else?
That's all I got.
Let us know what you think. We made this video specifically because now with more information from the reunion, we actually can have these conversations with y'all in the comments and things of that nature. So let us know what y'all think about that interview with the podcast that she was on. I see that a lot of people did not like it. They felt like it was irresponsible. But like you said, people can do whatever they want with their platform. You get what I'm saying? So let us know, and we'll see y'all another time.
Bye.
Y'all be good.